Hello and welcome everybody to New Earth Consciousness. Tania here with Judith Costa. Her website is judithmcosta.com and she is an Akashic record reader. We're going to talk today about unconditional love and what that means and what kind of impact that has on one's life. So Judith, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Tania. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah. So, you're originally from Spain. Right now you're living in Kansas and you had a calling. Talk about maybe some of the synchronicities. I know you were involved with your mother's interior design business, correct? And then it was like, this isn't for me, or maybe you already knew it wasn't for you. How did things evolve for you?
Yeah, I think life guided me to where I am. My background really is in advertising and PR. I did an MBA after my graduation. Specialized in marketing, I work in marketing departments and advertising agencies. And I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. My parents both are, and I never believed in this 9 to 5 idea.
Hmm.
I wanted to do something on my own, and my mother offered me the opportunity to do an import-export business with Philippines. At that moment, was some sort of outdoor furniture that was on fashion, and we had the connections. And she told me, like, come to work with me, and we'll do that. And I went to work with her in her business of interior design, and it never happened. We had more work. Then I ended up doing interior design thing that is not for me, really.
Hmm.
And as everybody knows, if you have done some construction, is quite tough to deal with the plumbers, electricians, and painters, and all of this, unless you are in love. And people think that it's just to choose the colors and the matching furniture, but it's much more complicated than that. And there was a moment after the crisis of 2008, the market have changed a lot since my mother started working, and I didn't want to inherit the business then. We decided to close, and with the money that I had, I was able to move to New York. I rent an apartment in Manhattan, and became a certified coach. But in the middle, something happened in my private life. I was married, and as I was saying, like my life from outside seemed perfect. Had a great job and the money I needed, and a big house and a good husband. But I was not happy at all. And I didn't know exactly what was the problem. My health, I had problems with hyperthyroidism, and my health was not really good. Then was mixed with depression. And I didn't know that my problem was that I didn't have any idea how to love myself. And I'm very analytical, and my thoughts were my enemies, not I wasn't the boss. The thoughts were.
Mm.
I started a quest to resolve my own issues because I'm good at self-coaching, and I had the opportunity to work with a doctor in the holistic approach that introduced me to many of the things that I will say that nowadays I'm very grateful on how to heal myself, and that was the reason why I started this quest for self-understanding, and that included Reiki and included astrology as a tool for self-transformation. And since I love to learn, I continue the quest because a person that was very important for me, who I dated when I was 16, 17 years old, appeared in my life through my dreams. And then there were certain synchronicities of having a dream that night and then meeting that person in the middle of a big city like Barcelona in Spain.
Hmm.
Uh, but it seemed that the universe kind of changed my agenda. I had to go to a place in the morning, then some emergency happened, I couldn't go. Then I said, okay, I'm gonna go in the lunchtime. I couldn't go. Then I ended up going after when I finished my work in the evening, and then the person was there. And this kept repeating for many, many years. Then that's the reason why I started reading all the books about dream interpretation that I could find in Spain. And I even did this master in psychology and psychotherapy because it's based in the teachings of Carl Gustav Jung, who knew a lot about dreams. And this really changed my life because what I discovered through all this experience is that this person was not the message, he was the messenger. Because of the soul connection that we had, he was able to show up in my dreams and make me feel the love that I was not feeling in my marriage. But since I love my husband, but the relationship was not working, but I still love him.
Mm,
It was really difficult to detach and to break that relationship because he was everything I knew. I met him when I was 18, 1 month and something after my birthday, and I spent 17 years with him in total. Then I think that what the universe did, it was through this soul connection and through the dreams that it's when we relax and we allow the guidance to come, show me that there was something more important. And I discovered the concept of soulmates through a book of Brian Weiss called Only Love is Real, that it's was a bestseller in Spain, not in the United States, because I had the opportunity to talk with Brian Weiss about this.
mm,
And it's a book where he explained the concept of soulmates, and it's a romantic book, even though it talks about past life regression and his patience. And all of this experience at the end made me realize that if my nights were better than my days, then my only real solution was to get divorced. And I did it. Not to run with the other guy that was already married, but just to really find the right person for me, to find my soulmate, to find this kind of connection that I have experienced, that I have read about it, and I really believe it exists for all of us. And that was the reason, the real reason why I why I decided to move to New York. Then I went to the embassy. I was enrolled in this coaching institute, and they gave me the visa, and I came to Manhattan, and I met the person, and we got married.
mhm,
And I become certified as a coach, and then I mean, now what? Because my plan initially was to go back to Spain after 1 year and a half, and just in the moment I had to make the decision because I couldn't extend my visa and I couldn't work on my own also. This person show up in my life, and it's part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, because he supported me through the rest, and I end up studying past life regression with Brian Weiss, and eventually also how to consult the Akashic Records for others. And I end up also becoming a teacher. And I not only do consultations for others, I also teach others. But I believe in love. I really do. And I started my career in New York helping people to find their soulmates because it's really what changed my life. And it was a big discovery that many people that work with me through the workshops or privately in coaching sessions had a lot of difficulty to find love because they couldn't love themselves. And that really resonated with me because I'm closing here and stopping. Like, what I realize is that it's very difficult to love others when you don't love yourself. Then I put a lot of pressure in my first husband for him to make me happy because I didn't know how to do that. And I put my happiness in his pocket, and it's not fair. You are the one responsible for your own emotions, your own thoughts, to resolve your own life. And it's great when you have the support of someone that sees you, understands you, and travels the path with you. But we cannot avoid the responsibility that we have for ourselves and for our own happiness.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. So, I'm curious for you, like, what was your journey back to learning how to love yourself? Because I think that, when we hear that, oh, you need to love yourself, like, I feel like that's kind of can be difficult for a lot of people, especially if they look at their life and let's say they just all they see are the mistakes that they have made, for example, right? And they find that difficult to, well, what is there to love about myself? And they're stuck in this negative pattern. Yeah, what was your own process? How did you find that path?
But now I'm explaining this from the perspective of 2026. I didn't call it lack of self-love by then. I only knew that I had problems like many other of my clients. Like, people
Mm,
come to me and they didn't even know what's wrong. They just know that something is missing, that they don't feel fulfilled, that the health is not there, that they have problems in relationships. But everything in our lives at the end can be resolved with more self-love. But self-love is a concept that includes so many things. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but it means to become your best friend. Then what I'm gonna say is the opposite. Like what happens is like we become very good at abandoning ourselves. And why we do that? Because we have learned that love is conditional. Since we're born with the idea of unconditional love. We are these little beings that we need love and belonging. But we become indoctrinated. There is a programming that happens with the parenthood, with the school, when you go to church, even with TV, everything that happens. And the kids very soon realize that it's going to be in trouble if it's not accepted, it's not loved, because there is a dependence
Hmm.
on others. You really not only want to belong and be seen, like for the tribes. If you were out of the tribe, you died. If you were not part of the group that were hunting together, then when we discover that it's better not to be authentically ourselves, because it's more important to fit than to really show who you are, or you feel like you are not going to be accepted, or someone tells you you cannot be this way, or you're a bad boy or a bad girl, or stop doing that many, many times, then there is a moment where you believe it, and then we change. We stop being ourselves with our uh, goods and bads, let's say, weaknesses and strengths, and we become the version that we believe that it's going to be accepted in society. And we do the same with friendships, partnerships, and not everybody in general, but when we lack self-love, it's because there is a moment where we decided to put others' opinions about our life, or we decide that what my boss says that I have to do is more important than my health, and I work until 3 a.m. for weeks and weeks and weeks, or I stop expressing my needs and desires because I think that the happiness of my children or my husband is more important than my own, and I forget to set up boundaries because I allow everybody to step into my time and my way of doing things because I don't know how to say no. Then this practice of abandoning ourselves in doesn't matter if it's in leadership, in love, in life, provokes a lack of love for ourselves. We forget that we are the most important, that if we are not okay, we cannot be there for others. That love is not sacrifice. If it's self-sacrifice, cannot be called love. It's something different. But since we don't have this idea, nobody talks about this, and I didn't have any idea when you asked me how you did it. I don't know how I did it. I did it through reading books, tons of them,
Hmm.
and listening to material and having conversations with my doctor who recommend me crayon. And I started listening to or reading in that moment. There was no uh, then it was one step after another step, and I learned astrology and helped me understand more my own constitution, let's say, when I was born, who I am, and also start looking into my purpose, why I'm here. If I'm not happy doing this job, then what can I do? And I start putting order in my life and trying to do the things, but it's one step at a time. Loving yourself is a process. It's not something that you do in one day. And there are different topics, like not everybody has the same difficulties, let's say. When I teach this workshop, Fall in Love with Yourself, that is what really gave me a lot of information about people because it's a constant seeing how the groups go around certain things. For some people, it's very difficult, for example, forgive themselves. Like as you were saying, we only see the mistakes, the things that didn't go well, and we get stuck in repeating the same because we cannot move forward. We cannot set ourselves free to say, okay, this happened. What is important is what I'm going to do from now on. I learn it and I'm going to move on. Then no, we keep there. We never read the next chapter. For other people, is that they are very judgmental. We have this inner voice that constantly this dialogue that usually is not positive. Nobody has told us that we can change the radio station.
Hmm.
If you don't like heavy metal, you don't have to continue listening to it, and you can put a more loving station, then you can take your mind to the gym like you take your body to the gym and train the mind to cultivate other kinds of thoughts, more understanding, more kind, more compassionate, and start treating yourself like you will treat your best friend, really. Because I mean, I'm sure that you have heard this before, but if we treat others the same way we treat ourselves, they will run away from us. But totally, they will never come back. We
Yeah.
are so hard on ourselves. So then we judge ourselves. We are hard. We are strict, like a parent, like showing up. And there is an idea also in general in the society that in order to improve your life, you have to be hard on yourself. Then things are achieved by hard work, control, and stop being lazy, willpower. And that's not true. It doesn't work. It will give you the motivation to start, but not the reason why you are deciding to make changes in your life. The only reason why we change is for love, but not in order to sacrifice. Is because I'm so important that I'm deciding going to the gym. I'm deciding studying this. I'm deciding changing the job. I'm deciding changing the partner. But we don't really look for the solution in our lives outside, like, oh, I'm not happy. I'm going to find another partner and everything is going to be okay. No, look at your patterns. Look at what you bring to the table. What kind of love do you want? You have to start bringing this to the table. Then the important here is to observe at yourself, but mindfully. Like you can look at yourself and your thoughts, but without judging them, like not in an analytical way, just knowing that you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are just the observer of them. Then, when you get this perspective, it's much easier to start looking at yourself through the eyes of love and not with this hard idea of, oh, my life is a disaster, I'm a mess. And because this is not going to serve you,
Hmm.
this is not going to take you out of where
Yeah.
love will.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also interesting how we tend to, or sometimes, I guess a lot of us can, what's the word? Blame ourselves for everything that's happening in our life. And I find that especially now with so much chaos in the world, that having that kind of mindset is crushing because it's like, you know, we're not in control of the gas prices going up and suddenly the cost of living being exorbitant and so we tend to think we forget that there are so many things that are outside of our control, and we tend to forget that and take it on like, oh, I'm not doing something right, I'm a failure, this isn't working, this isn't working. um, how does being unconditionally loving to oneself help navigate through times that are difficult, times when it seems like life is out of control? We can't control, like, if our spouse suddenly becomes very ill, or we lose a loved one, or we get laid off of our job, or all of those kind of challenges. How um, how does one then navigate that? Because I feel like I see a lot of that in the world of people just facing these in what seem like, huge challenges. How does, I mean, let's talk about that because it just seems important. It seems like I think a lot of people are struggling right now.
Yeah, I'm going to answer with a personal example because when I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer at the end of 2016, I already was teaching self-love and I thought I knew what it was.
Hmm.
And it took that to really make me realize that there was another dimension of self-love that I was not practicing. And I had to make radical decisions because I made the choice, and I'm not recommending this to anyone, disclaimer, but
Yeah.
I could do it to try to heal naturally for 1 year, even though I had an oncologist. But I did a lot of different therapies and sessions, and because my intention was to understand why the cancer was there and what it was trying to tell me, and not just do the surgery and goodbye and continue with my life.
Hmm.
And I had to take the self-love to another dimension. Like the business, I didn't close, but I wouldn't put any effort in earning money or creating, even though I felt more creative than any other period in my life. Is where I created the two retreats that I have and other things. I changed the way I ate, even though I'm Spanish and I tend to eat very, very, very well, like Mediterranean diet. And it's not that I had a problem, but more alkaline towards that. And I had more energy than ever. I
Mm,
jumped off my bed without the alarm at 5:30 in the morning, full of energy. Thing that is not happening to me, for example, right now in my life. I didn't have any hesitation on investing in myself, my money on the sessions. I felt the calling to listen to classical music because the way it's created, it has some healing abilities that I didn't know by then.
mhm,
And I decided to devote my time and my life to do research on how I can heal and to uh, be able to do things. I always, for example, wanted to learn how to create candles. And I got a set in Amazon and I decided to start doing these things. Then maybe it was too much. Like, but when your life is in risk and you don't know what is going to happen, then suddenly you have a different perspective. And it seems that we humans need to arrive to a crisis to really make changes in our lives. And it's not necessary. You can start loving yourself because today is today. But instead of looking at the world as a place that is threatening and that where you are unsafe, one of the reasons why we feel confident that it's part of loving yourself, it's not because you have everything figured out. It's because you develop a trust that you live in a safe universe, and no matter what is the challenge, you're going to be helped, you're going to be guided, you're going to be supported.
mm,
And then it's when you have this connection with, call it divine universe or whatever it is, but when you know that someone has your back, uh, you feel much better because you can surrender. You start surrendering to life and seeing what is coming without judging it and saying, "Oh, I don't want to be in a situation. Why I have cancer? And why now? And I don't want this. I had lots of projects and I don't want to go through this." No, that's to assure that you are going to suffer because reality is reality and you cannot change it. Then stop fighting with the things that you don't have control over and start taking care of your most important asset, that is yourself, because the more energy you have, the more you can give to others. The more calm you are, the more you can hold the space for others. Then a lot of people give their inner peace to the first person that triggers them. Like it can be in traffic in the morning, or when they arrive to the office, or when they are in the line for the coffee.
mm,
They don't value it enough. And the first person that crossed the path and it's not behaving the way they believe they should, then they lost it. And yeah, we don't want war in the other corner of the world, but we are creating war every day. When you sit in the car and you see how people drive and what kind of reactions people have in again in the line of the coffee and all of this, then you want peace in the world? Start being peaceful. You
mm,
want a more loving world? Start being more loving.
mm.
You want to feel better? Start investing in yourself. But
Right.
what do you do? The opposite. No, my kids are the most important in my life. And then I forgot that I'm not only a mother, I'm also a person, and they deserve to have a model of a mother that really understands that she also deserves her own love.
Mm. Yeah.
And we are professional and we forget everything. Oh, my career is the most important. And we live unbalanced lives. And of course, there are emergencies and situations in life. After the cancer, I got divorced, and after the divorce, I had an apartment where they did all the facade and all of the. I couldn't work in my own home, and then I had a car accident that was not my fault. Someone rear-ended me in a red light, and then I had to move to Spain to take care of my parents. And then, do I continue? Like, I rent an apartment with mold, and then I got sick, and then I had to empty out my apartment in Miami, and I'm in Kansas City. Then yeah, that's life.
Mm,
But if I didn't have the idea that I had to love myself no matter what, and that there must be something out of all of this, that I'm going through these experiences, but I can still change my life. I have to trust that life is taking me somewhere and I'm gaining a lot of experiences, like I'm doing a PhD on living in uncertainty,
Yeah.
really.
Right. Amazing. Yeah, that's so powerful. Oh my gosh, you said so many things. Um, the facing of adversity. And this is something I kind of I've been thinking about the last few days that, we tend to think that somehow life is going to get better in the future. And we think that, oh, I'll start, changing my life once this situation gets better, or, that kind of a thing. And we get caught in this trap. I think that we think that that somehow if you just that if you overcome a certain adversity it's free sailing after that. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, they're like, adversity is continuous. At least that's what it's been in my life. It's been challenge after challenge, like meeting challenges and overcoming those challenges. And I like what you said when you said it's reality. If you're going to, all of those challenges that you just stated, it's like, oh my gosh, like, how do you keep going through challenge after challenge after challenge? I think for a lot of people, they would want to give up. I mean, some people kill themselves, right? Um, and I think for myself, there are times when you do have to just surrender into, like, okay, I don't know why this is happening. I don't know what the lesson is. And I know that right now I can't figure it out. And so I need to surrender, like you were saying, into that trust of that I live in a benevolent world, that there's love all around me that is always for me, supporting me, even though maybe I can't see it in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Um,
You
yeah.
can always see it in the moment, but we don't have this training because self-love and happiness, or real happiness like joy, are intimately connected because both are choices that you make when you get up in the morning. But people think that happiness is a state of being, like it's a passing feeling, but it's a state of being. Then, then they may feel the state of being, but they lose it, and then they say, "Oh, I'm unhappy now." But they lose it because of the external circumstances, because we have this idea of I will be happy if or when, no, I get the money, I lose the pounds, my children will be in
Hmm. Yep.
whatever. Everything will be resolved. I get the money, I get the partner. And that's not true because happiness is happening right here, right now. If you choose to connect with it, there is something that will allow you to be grateful for. Even if it's, I'm awake today, I have two eyes still, I can walk, and I'm in okay health. Like, you don't have to be super good. But
Yeah.
look outside. Like, spring is here. Like, the trees are getting greener. There are flowers. Maybe there is sunny day. Maybe there is some wind, some breeze in your face. Maybe there is. Then you don't need to everything to be okay for you to choose to be joyful. You choose to be joyful because you want, because you love life, because you love other people, because you love earth, because you want to be here, because this is a day to celebrate. And
Hmm.
everything can be chaotic and messy around you. And you still have the right to
Hmm.
choose to be joyful, to
Yeah.
choose to love yourself, because your worth is totally independent of your accomplishments. You're worthy because you exist.
Right.
It's your
Right.
birthright. It's totally independent of if you earn or you don't earn, or if today you produce or you don't produce, or you have more or less. Everyone that exists is worthy. Everything that exists, well, everything is alive, but everything is
Yeah.
worthy of being here. Every tree, flower, the ugly and the rose with beautiful
Right.
petals. Yeah,
Right.
all of us are worthy of love.
Yeah.
But we, somewhere along the path, stop believing that.
Hmm.
And we only have to remember.
Absolutely. And it's so this attachment to the external, and even like you just said, even health can be an external condition, right? That, oh, if only I was healthy, if only I was married, if only I had $1 million, if only I had the perfect job. There's all this if onlys. I remember it was a video. It was a like a little mini documentary I was watching, and this man literally had lost half of his face. He was sitting at a bus station in South Central LA, and he was shot in the face, and he survived and completely disfigured. And yet he had so much joy and thankfulness for
Mhm.
being alive. Like, it blew me away. And it's like, there it is. Like, that is true happiness. Like, that is true. That is real, right? That in spite of all external circumstances, if you can still be in joy and self-love and in gratitude for your life, like, you've won,
Oh, yeah.
right? You've won this game called life or whatever, whatever, you know. Yeah.
As I was saying, it's so interesting to see that when your life is at risk, if you hear the conversations of people in a cafe, like everybody's complaining. Let's
Yes.
complain about
Yeah.
something about the state of the world or their marriage or their job or their whatever it is. We don't really value what we have, but only when you are about to lose it, then wow, now you figure out, wow, life is incredible.
Mm.
I remember after being depressed that when I felt okay, I never liked to take any drug. Then I heal naturally with other substances like plants and all of this. I remember looking at a tree and saying, wow, this tree is so green. How amazing. Like when you feel disconnected from life and suddenly you are one with everything that exists, you recover this oneness sense. It's like life is amazing.
Yeah, there's a gratitude that just is
Yeah, and you don't
nourishing.
want to miss a minute of it.
Yeah.
For every moment you're angry, you're losing a moment of true joy. Then it's up to you.
Yeah.
But for that, we need to learn how to release, how to let go, how to forgive. And this is another training that nobody does. I mean, I do, but
Yeah.
when I had these problems, there was no self-love workshop in Spain where I could take. And I'm not really into therapy, but all of these tools, I hope that we can nowadays teach to our children in the schools or at home. Like it's okay to feel the emotions. You don't have to not even put an adjective for it's good or bad. All emotions are welcome. Are you rather in life, and you have to feel them because they come with a message. They come to tell you something. But once the message is understood, if you pay attention, say, okay, emotion, what do you want to tell me? Ah, that this was uncomfortable. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Okay, thank you. Now you can go. Then emotions are released. And the same happens with thought. I remember my first teacher of meditation was saying, yeah, but I cannot stop thinking about this. And she told me, who is the owner of the thoughts? And I was like, oh my God, what a moment. Like I am. Then if I am the owner of the thoughts, of course I can stop thinking. But it's just a way we train the mind, then we can
Yeah.
say, not now, thank you, and
Right.
allow it to pass like clouds in the sky. Then when you are in the middle of the chaos or afraid because of the situation of the world or something bad had happened, it's complicated to start doing all of these things that we all these tools, the skills that we are defining. That the important is start practicing this in moments of calmness where things are going well and start building this love for yourself because in the hard moments you're going to need it the most.
Hmm.
And it's important. start in whatever way you want. Then learn a little bit of mindfulness and what does it mean. There are plenty of resources now that are free. Or change the radio station and start looking at what you tell to yourself and be more loving and more understanding. Stop judging yourself, stop comparing yourself with others. Learn how to say no. Set the boundaries, but not as limitations in the relationship with others, but as a clarity of what you want, what is acceptable for you, and what is not acceptable. Be authentic, be you,
Mm.
and be courageous enough to show up into the world with your own light and with everything that you have to share. And the more you do it, one step at a time, one thing after another, when you think that, okay, I mastered this thing of learning how to say no. Okay, I'm gonna move to something else. Don't try to do everything at the same time because it
Mm.
becomes difficult. But look at what you consume.
Yeah.
Not only eating, that of course you are what you eat or drink, but also what podcasts, what books do you read or you don't read, what conversations you have,
Yeah. Yeah.
and make a more loving you, a more loving world around you, and you will contribute to everything that you want in the world.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, I love that you said it's a journey, taking it step by step instead of trying to tackle everything at once and just trusting the journey and being open to receive the insight, the information, the support from others, all of that stuff. Yeah, it's like, we truly aren't alone in the journey.
Yeah, if you like journal, self-reflection, self-observation,
Mhm.
spending time with yourself alone in silence, even if it's watching the waves or looking at the stars, it doesn't matter. But do something to really get to know yourself a little bit more better, accept yourself as you are, and really enjoy your own company, because this is the longest relationship that you will ever have.
Yeah, amazing. Judith, what kind of programs do you have available for people right now? How can people work with you? What are your offerings?
Well, in my website, you will see that there are, as a private session, coaching, past life regression therapy, and Akashic Records. We haven't mentioned the Akashic Records for those of us that we are not aware of
Yeah.
this. The Akashic Records are a field of information where everything about us is recorded. Everything has a record, like this conversation that we are having, the podcast, my house, my cat, everything has a record. And we can tap into this field of information and download that. And in a private session, the person will come with a list of around 10 questions or topics, and we will unpack this information. You will receive concrete answers and guidance to your questions. But the most important of this session is that healing can be done at the same time. When we say healing, it can be releasing anything that we carry at the thought level, emotional, that we carry from our ancestors or genetic lineage, anything related with the body. We have many different tools, and it's a very powerful session. Coaching is a process. The Akashic Records, you can do one session or more, but one session in itself is complete, let's say this way,
Mm.
and it's much more powerful. Some people have mentioned, no, that it's like one Akashic Records consultation is resolved more than 5 years in therapy,
Mm.
because these beings that we call lords or guardians of the Akashic Records, that are emissaries of the divine, see you, and we talk about the journey of your soul, who you have been, who you are in this incarnation, and what is the potential development of your soul. Then they have this perspective over us, and they love us unconditionally. They will meet you exactly where you are. All the information that you will receive will be given to you with unconditional love, and zero judgment is something that people point out from these sessions.
Mm.
In terms of group sessions, I have different workshops that you can find in the website. There is a little one about dream interpretation, like an introduction. And then you have how to find your soulmate, fall in love with yourself, that I mentioned, and fall in love with your body, that I created after the cancer, because behind any illness that we have, there is an emotional component that it's important to understand in order to heal completely and totally, and collaborate with whatever you are doing in the physical as well. Then the group Workshops are usually one day. There is one also about how to manifest your desires, except the one in dreams that it's 2 hours and a half, that it's an introduction.
Mm.
And then there are retreats that I stop after the pandemic. I have not reinitiated, but I'm preparing new things that will be on the website. And if you go, the easiest way to see everything is on the website. And you will find all the information there about the different sessions, workshops, classes on the Akashic Records, and retreats. And there is a contact form with my email, my phone, and all the links to social media. And you can subscribe also to my list, and I will keep you posted about any interesting event.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Judith. And to those that are watching and listening, please like, share, and subscribe. Share this video with people who you think would benefit. And Judith, I just want to thank you so much for, yeah, just sharing such a beautiful and powerful message. I think these are the kind of reminders and insights that is beneficial for all of us to stay tuned into. And like you said,
Yeah,
working with the mind is it's a process of engaging, and it's like going to the gym 100%. So much love to everybody. Again, thank you, Judith. And until next time, everyone, be well.
bye.
Bye bye. All right.